want to talk about this duo thing that you and Danny G sent me?
Well,
I like the confidence.
it's not confidence. There's some truth to it. I mean, we're talking about ultimate competitors. Jamal Murray believes that when it comes to duos, that he and the Joker are the best pair in the league, better than Damian Lillard and Giannis, better than LeBron and Anthony Davis, better than Luka and Kyrie. I think we're the best duo is what he says. I think they're in a bigger market and people have more interest in LeBron and AD in LA or what Dame and Giannis could be or what Luka and Kyrie could do. If we're talking about the best duos getting the job done and how they play for each other and with each other, I think me and Jokic are undoubtedly number one. And you say confidence, I say the proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the playoffs. Too? Proof is in the championships. Proof is in the results. Special teams, special plays, special players.
Yes, brother.
So I think the proof is there. I don't think he's talking just out of confidence. I think he's talking out of facts. But there's something really or less exciting about them. And like Danny G pointed out, just like we talked about last year. I was like, what? The Joker's boring. And it is.
You know what?
It comes down to that.
A real NBA fan would be like, "You're just stupid, and you don't appreciate good basketball." I'm just saying, like,
we're talking flash. We're talking flash.
Boring's the wrong word. They don't really play.
Vanilla.
I'll take fundamentals over flash any day if the results mean a championship.
No, of course.
But I think that's why. If you're going to try to figure out why. It's everything he said. It's
he reminds me of Tim Duncan. I thought Duncan was a boring player.
What do they call
the
big fundamental? You mean the big fundamental?
Like champion.
There's no fun in fundamentals.
But it's like I wasn't excited to go turn the game on when he was playing.
Right.
Contrary to what you might think, you're right. There is no fun in fundamentals
unless
sometimes.
It's your team and they're winning.
Exactly.
But there's, again, truth to be told. He makes a point when he's saying, hey, they're big market teams. But the one part he left out is, and we're not as exciting to watch for whatever reason, right? So based on that, and you could debate that in itself if you have any thoughts on that, because they are really underrated when you think about it.
Yeah,
when you think of duos, you'll name like 4 or 5 other duos before you name the actual ones that win. And Jamal Murray and the Joker are probably the number one duo. There's some truth to that.
But I mean, in basketball circles, they've been getting their praise. And even last night at the podium, LeBron was just glowing about them. He said that they're the defending champions. They know how to win.
Yeah.
He said they've been extremely dominant on their home floor. They've got an MVP on their team. They've got a closer on their team. They got high-level players, high IQ players, and they've got a hell of a coach.
But even though rated, Danny G, still underrated.
Well, I mean, Joker's about to win another MVP. They did a little quick poll from some of the voters, and they're like, it's like very likely, more than likely, that Jokic wins the MVP again, which would make him a 3-time winner, which is putting him again in more and more rare company.
Yeah.
Elite company.
And
so
let's remember he should have won that year. Embiid won.
God, boring's the wrong word because I don't want to be the bird brain.
It's not boring.
To dominate.
It's just not as flashy.
Flashy?
Not as prime time, not as big time. I don't know.
It's definable, but not, because I don't want to be that dope that's
just
like
say flashy then. Just not as flashy.
They're boring. That's a lame answer. I think it has to do with the flash. I really do. I think
stick with that. They're just not as flashy. That's all.
And I know flashy.
And that's not a knock. It's just an observation, because we could say, hey, flash doesn't matter as long as they're winning. We get all that. But based on what Jamal Murray's saying, you got all these big names, big markets, big duos, and they may be overlooked and they're the best. Based on that, are there other underrated duos that come to mind?
And by the way, think of the flash. Sometimes flash, we always say about fajitas. You go to a Mexican restaurant, you look up, some waiter's carrying a sizzling plate.
That sizzle, that flash gets all the attention. Everybody's like,
"Oh, we got fajitas." I'll be honest. Anytime I've ever ordered fajitas, I'm like, "That was all right. That was mediocre." I'm telling you, Sometimes it's all flash, no substance. And you're right. You rather the, quote, no flash, boring nuggets.
You'd rather the substance.
Right? So we get it that way.
There's no question, especially when we're talking about winning and competing in sports. But based on that, who comes to mind as far as underrated duos? It could be, I don't know, a particular radio duo.
No, I haven't. You thinking of you? I haven't. I have one that came to mind.
It could be anybody.
Weedy in the Butt?
It could be Mongrel and Bart in the mornings. It could be on TV. It could be in sports. It could be anywhere. It could be in cartoons. I don't care. It could be anything. Maybe, I'll give you one. Like, people love to talk about the Simpsons run. People love to talk about, man, South Park really pushed the envelope. They're the best. I always thought Beavis and Butthead were funnier than all of them. And I think we saw some of that on SNL.
You're going to put Beavis and Butthead
I always thought
as an underrated duo?
I think they were
they're properly rated.
The epitome of pushing the envelope at that time.
I think when you said South Park, I thought you were going to say Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Underrated.
Nah, I think
everything they do is gold.
Why do you think SNL went so viral this past weekend? Because there's a specific generation that appreciated Beavis and Butthead and what they did and what they brought and how edgy they were at the time. If you ask me who I like the most, it's my guy Beavis and Butthead.
Oh,
so anyway, I'm just trying to open it up and not take anyone else's answer. And if you agree with me, fine. But your most underrated, again, it's underrated. Because I think when it comes to those cartoons, everybody wants to say South Park. Everybody wants to say The Simpsons. So, The Simpsons, no offense, haven't been good in
who are the
15
duos?
years.
We're talking duos.
I'm saying the duos Beavis and Butthead, you bozo.
Yeah, but there's no duo on The Simpsons.
I'm saying that they get the credit, you dunce. And my favorite is the duo known as Beavis and Butthead. So, I'm giving them props.
Duos?
I'm not comparing them to duos. I'm comparing them to their contemporaries.
Well, if you say big duos, we don't want to hear the Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. That's not the obvious ones.
Right.
The underrated ones, I mean, what comes to mind as far as underrated duos, I would have to say Jack Tripper and Larry Dallas.
Because who brings that up?
No one brings it up.
And that is fantastic.
When we were kids, I'm like, man, Larry's a hell of a friend.
What?
Knocks on the door.
Tag team.
Knocks on the door. Jack, I got some girls down at the Regal Beagle. That's a friend.
What a squad right there. Yeah, what a wingman. They were always down for each other. They're always down to go out. Regal Beagle, let's go. You know what? That's a great one, Rich.
So your thoughts, underrated duos, TV, music, sports,
Jack and Larry,
entertainment, based on the Joker and Jamal Murray being the number one duo in the NBA. And some would argue underrated.
Again, let me rephrase. Most underrated duos based on Jamal Murray's quote about them being the best, but the bigger market duos getting more of the props. The LeBron and ADs.
The Kyries and Lucas. Well,
exactly.
Mike, who runs this place, actually hit us up.
Who?
Mike.
And he said, have you guys ever heard of Electra Woman and Dyna Girl?
Underrated.
I looked it up. It's from the 70s.
Never heard of them.
It's ridiculous. Very funny.
But again, who talks about that, right? I got one. I can't say that I'm a fan, but I was shocked when I found this out in recent history, okay? Common knowledge to some, I get it. But you know the song Surf City? Surf City, I've heard that song for years and swore it was the Beach Boys. 2 girls for every bar. You know that song, right?
Of course.
It's not the Beach Boys. It's Jan and Dean.
Who's Dean?
Who's Jan and Dean? I mean, I know them. I've heard of them. But when you look them up,
half the songs you think are the Beach Boys are
Jan and Dean. And it's wild because when you read about them, and I've heard of Jan and Dean, obviously, but I always thought the Beach Boys pioneered that sound. When you look them up, it says Jan and Dean pioneered that California signature sound. The Beach Boys just took it and ran with it and became monsters with that genre within that time. But Jan and Dean, I'm going to say, because who brings them up? Nobody. Nobody to our generation. If you're older, it might be common knowledge. And you're like, yeah, of course. But nobody talks about them because they talk about the Beach Boys.
Well, let's see. Bo Knows hit us up. He said Tubbs and Crockett.
That's a good one.
They got some love from the 80s. And the word we might be looking for, not boring, this is from Jonathan Campbell on Twitter.
What up,
said,
John?
methodical, thought out? Do they just play in a
Yeah, and that
I don't want to use the word boring.
Well,
look,
they
dude,
have some really good shooters on their team, though.
True.
So I don't.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you stink. Like, dude, you know what Floyd Mayweather got all the criticism about being a little boring at times. But guess what? He was 50-0 and arguably one of the greatest fighters of all time.
I think
so. It's not necessarily a knock. It's just it doesn't provide for the most exciting games.
Yeah,
exciting style.
For casual basketball fans, like I had the Nuggets on TV I guess it was a week and a half or so ago, and my wife was watching with me. And whenever Joker had the ball, whether he was dribbling or he was under the basket, she's like, "This guy is the MVP. He looks like he's like half trying. He looks like he's half running." And it's true. He just looks like he's playing with no effort, which is no knock against him. But he also looks kind of clumsy, like heavy-footed almost. And
if anything, he's playing with flippers on his feet.
If anything,
I remember that someone said that last year.
If anything, it's a compliment because he plays at such an elite level, and it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, and again, the quote was, "I think we're the best duo. I think these other cats, Lillard, Giannis, LeBron, AD, people have more interest in them because of the bigger markets." Luka, Kyrie. If we're talking about the best duos getting the job done, it's them. They're undoubtedly number one, according to Jamal Murray. So based on that, underrated duos, your calls, 877-99 on Fox is Covino and Rich.
Let's go to Vegas. What's up? True's on. What's up?
How you guys doing, man? It's my first time calling. I just want to say I love you guys' show.
Thanks, man. Hold on, you're calling from Vegas? Let me guess. Siegfried and Roy, bro.
No, Siegfried and Roy.
But I am not a Raiders fan. Sorry. I am a Giants fan from New York originally.
Cool.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So, I guess.
Oh, is your favorite duo the mullets of Mark Bavaro and Phil McConkey's hairs?
Oh, yeah, that was a good duo.
No, but my pick is, since your show is centered around pop culture, I'm going to say Batman and Robin, because I think that they were a crucial part of pop culture. In sports, when you have, especially basketball, when you have like two solid players, they're always referenced as
Would you say they're underrated because
Not underrated.
Batman takes the lead and people forget about Robin? Otherwise, I don't think they're really that underrated.
Yeah, they're pretty rated, but I appreciate you, True. Let's go to John in North Carolina. John, you're on with CNR.
Hey, guys. Love the show.
Thank you, man. What's up? What's your duo?
Abbott and Costello, who's on first?
Your parent. That's your parents' answer, though.
Yeah, but you know what? I also think that
they're pretty rated.
It's like a top-rated duo answer. Like I feel like if you Google the top or most popular duos of all time, Abbott and Costello might be the number one.
Yeah, I'll give you one. How about this? Larry and Belky.
Stupid.
Don't be ridiculous.
I mean, were they that good, though? I don't know.
Kate and Allie. Let's go to Josh in Ohio. Hey, Josh.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. First time calling in. How about WWE's The Rockers?
The Rockers.
Dude, I like The Rockers, so I like that answer. Yes.
Didn't Marty Jannetty on a podcast admit to murder? Then he's like, just kidding. I think something like that happens.
I used to like the Rockers. I did. That's a good answer because when you talk about tag teams, it's always the same answer. It's always the same people. I used to like Strike Force back in the day.
Yeah, it's just because you look like Tito Santana.
Yeah, I liked them.
Let's go to Dan Beyer for an update. And by the way, do you remember how the Rockers broke up in wrestling? Remember Shawn Michaels?
They felt the need to see other rockers?
No, remember he threw Shawn Michaels through Jannetty through the glass window?
Yeah, and,
at the barbershop.
Brutus's barbershop.
Yeah, so you remember. What's up,
Was
DB?
it Bobby Heenan that then said, why did the window get in the way?
Yes, it's the best line ever.
Why did Jannetty get in the way of the window?
Jannetty tried to jump through the window.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It's one of the best dumb moments in wrestling history.
Going over the most underrated duos, I'll give a shout out here at Fox Sports Radio. You know who I enjoy? The Odd Couple. I do.
Yeah?
Very rated, but still underrated in my opinion. I love listening to those guys.
Burger
and fries.
Rob Parker.
I love
Rob Parker.
Dude, I just love listening to Rob Parker and then just hearing Chris's reaction to it.
I got some FSR gear on sale in the kitchen.
Yo, Rob, you can't be serious about that. I'm serious.
I knew that.
It cracks me up, man.
He's at Dodger Stadium today. I just saw on Twitter.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I got one for you, Danny G. Two for you because you're a hip-hop guru. One, you're going to be like, hell yeah,
You going to say EPMD?
No.
Oh.
And then the other one, you'd be like, hell no. But for me personally, they're underrated, okay? Now, growing up on the East Coast, and I know hip-hop guys like you will be like, no, they're very rated. But if you ask the casual dude, they don't know who Havoc and Prodigy from Mobb Deep are. I thought they were so cool back then and so good. So I'm going to throw them into the conversation.
And probably to this day, the best beat in all of hip-hop.
Dude, Mobb Deep's so underrated. And you're like, if you heard their songs, you'd be like, oh, I know that song. Mobb Deep was great. And then me personally, I always thought that Drez, D-R-E-S, Drez and Mr. Long from Black Sheep were so underrated. That first album, only sold 500,000 copies, and the Choice Is Yours was a smash. And I always loved them, and I loved that album, and I've been listening to it recently, so I've been on that kick of, man, they were so underrated.
Yeah,
I love those
They were
dudes.
ahead of their time.
Yeah, they were part of the whole, Jungle Brothers and Tribe Called Quest sort of vibe.
No, I thought you were going to say Criss Cross.
They'll make you jump, but I don't know.
Daddy Mac will make you jump.
I don't hate on them, though.
Casey and JoJo.